Okay, moving right along. So this will be third one in our video series. So this one is Sarah's All Hail Cthulhu. So I'm glad you're having fun with that name. Start things off. 12th selection. You got Devontae Adams, $58. You spent 52 last year, so you went back to the well. I know you like going back to your players. Gosh, last year he was just fantastic. Over 1,500 yards receiving, 11 touchdowns, on 123 receptions? Crazy, like huge monster, crazy impressive numbers. I don't think he's been traded now. Obviously, he's with the Raiders in Vegas. Derek Carr's the quarterback, his old college teammate at Fresno State. So I don't think he's going to get quite those numbers. I don't think Derek Carr is going to be the MVP like Aaron Rodgers. I could see 1,200 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns. So I think, is it an overpay for a receiver in our league? Yeah, it is an overpay for a receiver in our league. If, what is it? Stefan got Mike Evans for 33, and you paid 58 for Devontae Adams. Now, granted, we definitely push the receiver money. Like Cooper Kupp went for 64 to Eileen and 69 to her as well for Justin Jefferson. So I don't think Kupp had how many yards last year? 1,900 yards. Justin Jefferson had 1,600 yards. Devontae Adams had 1,500 yards. I don't think any of them are going to get maybe Jefferson, but I don't think the other two are going to get quite as crazy high numbers again. So yeah, do I love the price considering we paid $6 more than we paid last year? And the situation isn't as good, the MVP is not my quarterback anymore. I don't love it. I would have preferred, there were some good deals at running back that I liked more, and just the nature of our league. Running back is everything. But all things considered, do I like Devontae Adams? Yeah. He was very good to you last year. Yeah. You were a playoff team. He led your playoff team. You know what you're doing. So I don't think he'll be as good as he was last year, mostly because the Raiders might have more talent on offense, so I'm not in love with the running backs, Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden. But, they got Hunter Renfrow, they have Darren Waller. I would say those two are better than anything on the Packers. So there is going to be some regression. He's not going to get 123 receptions. It's an insane amount of receptions. Golly. So I could see 110 maybe. So slight step back, maybe 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. Still excellent receiver. He's in his prime. He's 29. 58's a lot, but I get it. 17th pick. So Sarah's going double wide receiver, and we're going to get into more of this strategy. We're getting into deep into strategy talk, I guess, when we do mine. That'll be my personal, hey, this is what's going on, because I know some people are it's all about running back. But now we're in a half PPR league, so you can start 4 receivers. So you spent 42 on CeeDee Lamb. So literally half your budget went to 2 wide receivers. Now, do I like CeeDee Lamb? Yes, I do like CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper is gone. Cedric Wilson is gone. Michael Gallup is hurt. He'll be back probably before. He's not on the PUP list, so he'll be back before week 4, or he might be back at week 4. The Cowboys were the number 1 scoring offense last year in points. So Lamb had, I guess you could say he had a second-year breakout, but really it wasn't too different from his rookie year. So this might be the 3rd-year breakout for a wide receiver. Realistically, he's the number 1 in Dallas. getting him for 42 is a good deal because, if I'm being honest, he'll probably be right around what Davante Adams gets because whereas Davante went from a really great quarterback feeding the ball a lot to a good quarterback, maybe not feeding him the ball as much, CeeDee Lamb is now with a decent quarterback who's going to feed him the ball a lot. So I could see maybe not as many receptions as Davante. If Davante's getting 110, I could see CD getting like 95. But I could see a lot of big plays with them, so I could also see double-digit touchdowns. I could see he had 1,100 yards last year, so it's not out of the realm now with all of those guys gone. He gets more target share, and we're talking 1,200, 1,300 yards. So CeeDee Lamb might be better than Davante Adams just simply because of the situation. So getting him for 42 when you got Davante for 58 is good. Spending $100 on two receivers is a lot. But, I mean, you are, we'll call you the queen of the top. Well, I mean, I can't even say you're the queen of the top receivers because Eileen has the two top receivers. But you have two excellent receivers at the very, very top. And you spend a lot of budget on them, but they're tremendous, and I like their situations quite a bit. Then at 28, we spent another $46. So this was really a really good deal. Like, Adams maybe was a slight overpay. Lamb was underpay, pretty good deal. But this was very good deal. You got Nick Chubb. Who's been a top 10 running back every year since his rookie year. You got him for 46, which the going rate of running backs is like $60 at least. So getting him for 46 is a steal. The reason why he fell that far, obviously, is because Kareem Hunt is there. Kareem Hunt catches the ball a lot. But Chubb he's probably the best rusher in the NFL as a running back. Last year he got, 1,259 yards? 9 touchdowns, and he had a little receiving, I think he had like 20 receptions, so close to 200 yards receiving. So we went from Baker Mayfield, we're going to get 11 games of Jacoby Brissett and probably 6 games of Deshaun Watson. It doesn't really matter to Chubb. He's not going to catch the ball a lot. Excellent player. He's a $60 player. He got him for $46. Like, he's probably going to get 1,200 yards. He's probably going to get 8 touchdowns. He's probably going to get more yards receiving this year with Brissett, honestly, so maybe like 250. So, yeah. No, that's like close to 1,500 yards for a running back, and you got him for $46, which is just wild to me. So, getting him as your number one running back, good. So, like, these are our top 3. Good, solid, incredible top 3. A lot of budget spent, though, so we had to get some steals. So we got a steal. 79 overall, $7. One of the best deals in the draft, Antonio Gibson. Now, good golly, Antonio went for a lot last year. He went for 68 to Justin, who had him as a breakout, and he did not break out. He was very frustrating for the first 11 games. He was only getting like 15 carries a game and then like a couple receptions. He was like around the 15th best running back. But then a funny thing happened. In the last 5 games or so, 6 games or so, J.D. McKissick got hurt in week 12. And then once he got hurt, Antonio Gibson just turned it on. He still got as many carries as he was getting. He was still getting around 15 carries a game. But he started getting a lot more targets because he was in the game more. And he went from being the number around 15 running back to the number 6 fantasy running back. So what does that all mean? It means Gibson has quite a bit of talent. But it also means that Gibson doesn't have as much opportunity as one would like. He's not a bell cow back. McKissick's back because they re-signed him. They drafted Brian Robinson, who I will get to during my draft. Brian Robinson was in a carjacking in D.C., got shot twice, and is now out at least 4 games. So we're back to the Antonio Gibson show. I don't think he'll be as good this year, mostly because Robinson is probably going to come back at some point. But even if he doesn't, McKissick's healthy again. So last year, Gibson got about 1,000, like around 1,050 yards, and then he got another like 300 yards receiving. So yeah, 1,300 yards. I don't think he's going to get 1,300 yards. I think he's going to get closer to like 1,000 yards. I don't think he's going to break 1,000 yards rushing either. If Robinson comes back, it might be even lower because the staff really likes Robinson. I thought Robinson was going to be the starter in Washington. That's part of the reason why you probably got Gibson for such a good deal at $7. But as long as he's the starter, as long as Washington actually feeds him the ball, because I don't believe in Carson Wentz. You don't believe in Carson Wentz. I'm not even sure if Washington really believes in Carson Wentz, to be completely honest with you. I'd rather take Baker Mayfield, and I don't even like Baker Mayfield. But Terry McLaurin's there. They drafted Jahan Dotson. The O-line's pretty good. There's a lot of things going on in Washington that I'm not sure what to make of. The point is, basically, this is a Ron Rivera offense. They brought a new O coordinator. I don't think Gibson's going to be as good as he was last year. He's probably really, if we're being honest, an RB3, RB4. If Robinson was healthy, he'd probably be an RB4 for sure. But as long as he's the starter, he's an RB2 right now. So I can't argue with the price, though. Like $7 for an RB2 is fabulous. So I like him on talent. I just think he's stuck in a not so great situation. If he was on a team, I mean, we just went Rondell Moore on Brian's team in Arizona. I don't think they know how to use him right. I don't think Washington knows how to use Antonio Gibson right. If we were being honest, I would say Antonio Gibson reminds me most of Eckler, Austin Eckler. So, yeah, you see how good Austin Eckler is. I think Gibson's really good, but they don't use him properly. He ought to be getting the ball more in space, but they want him to be like a one-cut running back up the middle, and he's not. I mean, he's okay at that, but his vision's not great. So it's kind of like Miles Sanders, actually, in a way. So, great deal. This is one of your flag players. So we got Juju at 96, $13. So we'll talk a little bit about Juju. So, you love Juju. I know Stefan loves Juju. I don't love Juju. I remember when he was on the Steelers. I'm a Steelers fan, and he was just like, oh, he's a top. He had a great season 2019 next to Antonio Brown, and then everything basically fell apart. But he had what? No, it was 2018 with Antonio Brown, because Antonio Brown got traded. Anyway, 2018, Antonio Brown, 1,400 yards for Juju, 7 touchdowns. He was like the 7th or 8th best receiver in fantasy that year. Incredible, season. 1,400 yards for any receivers. Nuts. Example, Devontae Adams had 1,500 yards last year. Justin Jefferson had 1,600 yards. It's hard to get over 12. It's hard to get to 1,100 yards. It is, anything over that is nuts. So 1,400 yards as he was a rookie at the time is crazy efficient. But late career Ben Roethlisberger, not so great. But really, once Antonio Brown left, people started doubling Juju, and his average depth of target went down. His yards per target went down. He played 5 games last year. So what are we expecting? Well, Tyreek Hill is gone in Kansas City. They've brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Don't believe in him. Drafted Sky Moore. Andy Reid's never been very good at drafting receivers, so don't believe in him either. And even if he is something, he's a slot receiver. McCole Hardman's still there. He's fast, I guess, but he doesn't catch. He doesn't run routes that he can't catch. So, if we're picking a receiver, I suppose Juju is a choice. Do I think Juju's going to get his 1,400 yards? No. Is that in the range of outcomes because he's going to possibly the number one offense in football, and he could be the number 1 receiver in that offense? I suppose it's in the range of outcomes. So I'm gonna split the middle, because last year he played 5 games and he had 15 receptions last year. So range of outcomes, we'll split the middle. we'll say around 80 receptions, 900 yards, 8 touchdowns. Pretty good. Not great numbers. Solid RB or solid wide receiver like 4, wide receiver 4. But I will say, and to your credit, Juju has a lot of upside because the range of outcomes for him is massive. He could go be nothing. He could be the number 1 receiver in an incredible offense. So getting him for $13 is a very, very good deal. Getting that kind of upside for that cheap is very, very good. I don't believe in Juju. Sorry, I just don't. I haven't seen it in 4 years now. And even when he was there, I thought it was more Antonio Brown. Teams rolling coverage over to Antonio Brown, so Juju was always open. I suppose Travis Kelce's in Kansas City, but I don't know. Juju's hard for me. He's been injured. He's more of like a flex guy, but he's only 25. So there's a lot of range of outcomes with him. But he's a good high upside bet. And for that kind of money, I mean, he's at least a $20 player. 25 just for the gamble. So getting him for 13 is great. $4 for Nyheim Hines. Ryan has Jonathan Taylor, so Hines is the handcuff. Hines is a really good pass catcher. Like, he had 40 receptions last year. I'm thinking more. He might get 50 this year. He had what? He's had like 282. So yeah, he has had about 280 some odd. He's had 280 some odd carries in 4 years. So about 90 carries a year, roughly, a little more. 275 in targets. So yeah, around 90 targets a year. I think he's going to get like 50 receptions, which makes him like a viable flex, a low-end viable flex at times, because I think they don't want to workload Jonathan Taylor as much. So I like this pick. I mean, $4 is a steal considering running back and how freaking hard it is to get a deal at running back, and you needed to save money. So Sarah is killing it at this point in the draft. Sarah has a $7 Antonio Gibson, a $13 Juju Smith-Schuster, and a $4 Nyheim Hines. Sarah has done research. Sarah's just like maybe not hitting it out of the park with these picks, but she is just consistently just going up to bat. Single. Give me that single. Give me another single. Just good, clean hitting. Just getting the job done, getting good deals. We like this. Then we did our last little splurge of money, $12 Kenneth Walker. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kenneth Walker this is going to be weird. So I know Brian and Justin really like Kenneth Walker. There are reasons to like Kenneth Walker. He was probably the best running back in college football last year. For Michigan State, he had 1,600 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns in 12 games. Like, he was the offense. He was incredibly efficient. I think he was third in yards per carry. And his not a great pass catcher, so I don't really have a lot to go on with that. But he runs a 4.38 40-yard dash. I do know that from the combine. He's only 21 too, so real young. So he's behind Rashad Penny, who I have no belief in. I mean, does Rashad Penny have talent? Yeah, but Rashad Penny has run for more than 160 yards, not since his junior year of high school. Don't ask me how I know that. But yeah, there's no way. I mean, this is year 5 for Rashad Penny. Like, does anyone think Rashad Penny's going to stay healthy the whole year? I don't. He's never stayed healthy the whole year. Also going back to his junior year of high school. So, yeah, he only has, that's a crazy stat that I can pull. So, when it's Walker's time, despite what I think of Seattle, Pete Carroll wants to run the ball. And Walker was extremely efficient at Michigan State. Just incredibly efficient. When it's his time to be the number one back, whatever happens with Rashad Penny looks bad. Rashad Penny gets hurt. Walker's getting 25 touches. I mean, will he be great with those 25 touches? considering whatever the circumstances are during those games, I'm not sure. Even though he's super efficient, the O-line's not very good. Drew Lock or Geno Smith's going to be the quarterback. Geno's starting the year as the starter. Neither is very good. If I was the opposing team, I would be loading up the box to stop Kenneth Walker or Rashad Penny. So it's hard to kind of put on the range of outcomes where I'd put Kenneth Walker because I really, really like him as a talent. If we just went talent for talent, he's probably the most talented running back in this rookie class. But his situation is awful. Even if I can commit to him getting a bunch of carries, everything around him's bad. So it's hard for me to really pin down where to put him. This is another, kind of like Juju, wide range of outcomes. So we'll just go kind of split the difference. 700 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, maybe 100 yards receiving. So he could be more. He could have an 11. If you told me he was the starter and Rashad Penny wasn't there, or whatever happened to Rashad Penny, I would say he'd get the ball 25 times. I would say he probably gets like 90 yards, and I would say he probably gets a touchdown, which in this case would be like top 10 running back, maybe even top like 8 running back, just because of the workload. So yeah, no, I like Kenneth Walker a lot. I just don't like the situation at all. But upside play, don't mind it. Even if the situation sucks, I don't mind it for $12. But from there, we had a really, really budget. Ooh, tight end, another tight end. Dallas got it for $1. I mean, he's okay. Goddard is the number 3, I guess, target in that Eagles offense after A.J. Brown. And Devontae Smith, the Bryans. So the way I kind of look at tight ends like him is kind of like he's like the slot receiver. He'll be around like the number 10 tight end, especially with Zach Ertz gone. He's probably going to get like a 20% like target share, and he might be like getting, I don't know, he'll get like maybe 900, 800 yards. He's a starter for you. He's probably a top 6, top 7 tight end. It's just going to be hard with A.J. Brown there taking a ton of target share. So we'll go on the lower end, maybe 800 yards. He got 830 last year, but we're going to go 800 yards just because A.J. Brown's going to get a lot of work. And this is a very run-heavy offense, and he's going to block a lot, Goddard. So do I like starting tight ends? No. Would I rather start receivers? Yeah. Is Goddard a starter in our league? I suppose. He's about an average starter, which I can't really argue with for $1. 147, we took Derek Carr for $1. Okay. Just like Brian stacked Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, you're stacking Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. So I know Derek Carr is your another one of your flag players, just like Kenneth Walker, just like Juju. So what do we like about Derek Carr? Derek Carr had career highs in pass attempts, completions, and yards last year. He had 4,800 yards passing. He was the number 10 fantasy quarterback. So that's the good. The bad is he doesn't run, so obviously there's no rushing. So you need a lot of touchdowns. He's never broken 30 touchdowns in a season, so that's another not so great thing. But he has Devontae Adams now. Darren Waller's healthy. Hunter Renfro's really good, and even if I don't love Josh Jacobs, he could catch. So I kind of look at Carr as the same way I look at Dak Prescott, who went to Mac. So getting him for $1 is a great deal. I mean, obviously, I think this is going to be the year Carr has, like, at least 30 touchdowns passing. I think in a Josh McDaniels offense, he'll probably get 33, 34. So, he's around the top 10. Like, if Dak's around, like, top 10 quarterback, Derek Carr's around top 10 quarterback. Really, the quarterbacks are all kind of falling around there. So getting him for $1 is great. So I don't think he's going to pass for 4,800 yards. That's wild. Because that's close to, close to 5K passing is nuts. So we're going to say like 4,200, but 33 touchdowns. So better on the touchdowns, worse on the passing. Borderline top 10 quarterback. He might be 11th if I guess we really went into it and ranked him. But dollar, don't mind it. Good deal. Tyler Boyd, $3, $159. I mean, Boyd is, you love your Bengals. He's the slot receiver for the Bengals. So, boy, there's a weird thing with you guys and slot receivers. So, yeah. Brian took KJ Osborne in Minnesota. Mac took Joshua Palmer with the Chargers. You're taking Tyler Boyd with the Bengals. I mean, you said at the draft he was the best deal among the Bengals receivers, and I know I have T. Higgins, and we saw freaking Jamar Chase go for 53. So yeah, he is the best deal. You got him for $3. There's no real tight end there. He's, again, it's weird with the slot receivers. It's kind of like the same way I feel about Goddard. So like around Goddard's a tight end, but basically like borderline top, like back end top 10 tight ends are basically what slot receivers are in fantasy, if that makes sense. They usually get about 800 yards receiving. They usually get about like 5 or 6 touchdowns. They are startable some weeks, but not startable other weeks. So they're borderline wide receiver 4, tight end 1 guys. So getting him for $3 is good because he's a borderline top 30 receiver. He's startable. And getting that for cheap is great. I mean, he's not even a starter on your team, if I remember correctly, because we got Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Goedert, and Juju. Yeah, so getting him where he is as like your 5th receiver is really, really good, especially on the cheap. Gosh. So love that. Like that a lot. Good on you. If Chase or Higgins misses time, the same way if Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen misses time, KJ Osborne's good. Or the same way Mike Williams or Keenan Allen misses time, Joshua Palmer's good. If something were to happen to Chase or Higgins, then Tyler Boyd becomes an immediate start. So, yeah, no. Weird thing with the slot receivers with people this year. But, I mean, he's startable. Elite offense, slot receivers or tight ends are startable. You got the handcuff to Alvin Kamara, who's on Rich's team, Mark Ingram for $3. I think that's more an oversight on Rich's part, not getting the handcuff on the cheap. Ingram's 32. He was really missing Baltimore last year. He had over 500 yards rushing, though, because Kamara missed some games. He's not going to be consistent. If Kamara gets suspended, he's going to be great. It comes down to, does Kamara play all the games? I think if he gets suspended, that's a whole thing. But I think Ingram's probably going to get like 400 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving. But he's worth hanging on to because if something happens to Kamara, then he's the immediate obvious starter, and he's a top 20 running back instantly. Obviously, he's not as good as Kamara, who's a top 5 fantasy running back if he's healthy. But if Kamara's not healthy and Ingram is the number 1, he's a top 15 running back. Because he knows exactly what to do, even though he's 32. He pass blocks, he catches the ball in the backfield, he's a good runner, he has good vision. He's older, so he's a step slower, but still, good deal. A really good trade bait. Then, we took J.D. McKissick, $175 for $3. Yeah, so McKissick was really, really good. Well, really good's a strong word. McKissick was good until he got hurt in Week 12. He is the passing down back, which kind of hurts Antonio Gibson. He's obviously good in space. He's not going to get the goal line work because that's either going to Gibson or Brian Robinson if and when Brian Robinson comes back. But Gibson's a startable running back at times. If Robinson's out and something were to happen to Gibson, McKissick is the replacement, so he's a good handcuff for you. We'll say 300 yards rushing, 400 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. So, again, good handcuff. Probably you want to hang on to him. If you want to drop someone for higher upside, I could see that. Maybe like Trey Sermon even, but I mean, McKissic's a good player. He was wanted by Buffalo, and he ended up taking a deal to return to Washington. And they know how he is a player that they know how to use, which is unfortunate because he basically his skill set overlaps that of Antonio Gibson. But I mean, he's a good little receiving back. He's a good third down back. He can pass block. He can receive. He's just not great in between the tackles. And then we took, Dawson Knox. So if we're taking like back end tight ends like Goddard as like kind of like slot receivers, like borderline wide receiver 4, Knox is in like the high powered Bills offense, so plus for him. Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are gone, more pluses for him. He led all tight ends in touchdowns last year with 9, so another plus for him. But he was only targeted 73 times, negative for him. So Isaiah McKenzie's the slot receiver. I don't know between Isaiah McKenzie and Dawson Knox, who is the number 3? I think Knox is what, only 25? So I think he's in for some touchdown regression. I think he'll be fantasy relevant some weeks. He won't be fantasy relevant other weeks. He's a matchup play, which is decent as like my wide receiver 5 back to the bench. But also I wouldn't be afraid to drop him either, just because like the upside isn't really there, unfortunately. He plays in a high-powered offense, yeah, and I suppose we could say it's like, oh, well, he could get like a lot of touchdowns in this matchup, and he could be startable, and that's true. But early in the season, I probably want someone with like upside play who could really just be like a number 1 who I didn't see coming. Like Justin Jefferson was drafted really late, and he became a number 1. The range of outcomes for Knox, unlike that of Juju or Kenneth Walker, is more narrow. Just because even if something happened to Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, I'm not completely confident that Dawson Knox would suddenly be a number 1 starting kind of like build my offense around like Travis Kelce kind of guy. He doesn't have that kind of talent. He's more lumbering tight end than he is receiving tight end. I like him. I think he'll be startable some weeks. I think he's better than some people have at the back of their bench. So, yeah, he's all right. So what do we think of Sarah's draft? I think I like your team more than Mac's. I think Mac played it a little safe, especially the Josh Jacob thing. I like the Elijah Moore pick, but the Josh Jacob thing really just kind of soured me. I know that's one particular thing, but you have more upside. Gibson has upside, unfortunately, with Brian Robinson gone. CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams. Wide receivers are weird. We don't know heads or tails who's going to have like crazy seasons. I mean, I guess Cooper Kupp could have a crazy season, be number 1. Justin Jefferson could be the number 1. But I could just as well see Devontae Adams or CeeDee Lamb being the number 1 receivers in fantasy. Speaking really quickly. I could see Juju Smith-Schuster being incredible and having a 1,000-yard receiving season and being the number 1 for the Chiefs. Not so much for Goddard. But I could see Kenneth Walker being a top 10 running back because he just gets fed so much. So, in the range of outcomes for Sarah is not an elite team like Brian, but Sarah has a more higher level team. I definitely like the team more than last year, so I'm going to say that straight away. She's still more in the middle of the pack, but she's higher end. So, if Brian is an A-, Sarah's like a B+. I think this is a good team. And there's some work to be done. Just because, like, you don't want to get too in the weeds with, like, replacement players. You want some upside. Like, you have no second-year receivers. You have one rookie running back. You have, like, the handcuff and Mark Ingram and J.D. McKissick. That's kind of why, like, I like Dawson Knox, but I don't like Dawson Knox on your team. I guess that's the word. That's the way to put it. Because I'd much rather use that slot for just, like, random guy on free agency who I think has a lot of potential. Because I just don't think Knox has a lot of potential. I think he's startable some weeks, but I could say that about most of your bench. And realistically, I'd rather use that space to trying to just churn through and find the next Cordero Patterson or the next James Robinson, if that makes sense. But no, this is a good team. Like this is one of my more favorite drafts with Sarah. I really like this team. This is a B plus team. I don't know if you'll win a championship, but if Brian is my favorite, you're in the realm. You're like a semifinalist team. It's weird to see someone build around wide receivers. I was just having this discussion with Andre, and he was like, well, running backs win championships in fantasy football. That's true. But there are outliers. I would say more so than anything else, Brian won with his wide receivers last year. Holly definitely won with receivers. So it happens. And I like the team. Obviously, your running back depth isn't great, but it's all right. Naheem Hines in a pinch can be your starter. I would just be concerned if Brian Robinson comes back and takes that job. I don't know what you're going to do with Gibson. So that's the only thing. But as long as Gibson's the guy right now, then everything's fine. It's a good team, though, Sarah. You've done a good job. I'm proud of you.